This is a extended document, the Constitution for we the people. That is the base document, and then these are additional documents for clarification. This is one that covers women, children, and the unpaid economy, care, autonomy, and the right to be heard. This is based off of coralrussell.substack.com if you want it more in written form. I'm trying to make videos because there's been a random request for them, so thought I'd put them out there. All right. Every person has a body that belongs to them. Labor that deserves compensation, a voice that deserves to be heard, a right to safety where they live. None of these things have been reliably extended to women and children. This is what extending them fully requires. Your body belongs to you. The decision to become pregnant, to continue a pregnancy, to end a pregnancy, to use contraception, to seek fertility treatment, to decline any of these. These decisions belong to the individual. The state has no legitimate interest in compelling any of them. This is not a history of protecting life. Enslaved women were compelled to bear children. Poor women and women of color were sterilized without consent. Women who sought abortion before it was legal died. Since 2022, women have been denied medically necessary care until they were critically ill, or one woman died after doctors, while she was in the hospital, waited 40 hours before giving her an abortion for a non viable fetus. She left her husband a widow. She left her other children orphaned because, in the presence of doctors in a hospital, they watched her die from sepsis for 40 hours. The criminalization of reproductive decisions has always been about control. This is not a market outcome. Women earn approximately 82 cents for every dollar earned by men for comparable work. This is the accumulated result of the decisions made at every level of the economy about those whose work is worth more. The gap is larger for Black women, Latinas, and Native women. Nursing is not less valuable than engineering. Childcare workers are not less valuable than facilities managers. Pay must reflect the actual demands of the work, not the gender of the workforce doing it. This work is real. Childcare, elder care, care of disabled family members, household management, emotional labor. The majority of this work is performed by women. None of it appears in GDP calculations. All of it is the infrastructure on which the paid economy runs. You have not been idle. The person who left paid work to raise children or care for an aging parent has been doing work the economy depends on. Social Security, pension eligibility, economic floor, these must reflect that. They care for everyone else's family. Childcare workers, home health aides, nursing home staff, personal care assistants, among the lowest paid workers in the economy, often unable to afford care for their own families. This is not a coincidence. It is the market's valuation of women's work. The exclusions are repealed. The Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 explicitly excluded domestic workers, primarily to exclude Black women in the South from protections given to white workers. The exclusions and its descendants repealed. I'm sorry, but I have something that doesn't let me read the bottom part. Oh my gosh. Minimum wage, benefits, workplace safety, the right to organize, all apply, no exceptions. Ah, Gotta fix that for the next time. So sorry. I cannot pull this over. No? Okay. This is not a personal financial problem. The cost of childcare in most U.S. cities now exceeds the cost of in-state college tuition. The family that cannot afford childcare cannot afford to work. This is a collective infrastructure problem. It requires collective investment. This is not a private matter. The state has an affirmative duty to protect people from violence in their homes with the same force that applies to violence in the street. A woman is more likely to be killed by her intimate partner than by any stranger. Safety is built, not declared. Training for law enforcement and coercive control. Civil legal aid for survivors. Housing protections. Workplace protections. Immigration protections. Financial independence is safety infrastructure. A child cannot consent to marriage. Child marriage is legal in some form in the majority of American states. The overwhelming majority of child marriages involve girls married to adult men. Documented outcomes: social dropout, school dropout, economic dependence, domestic violence, maternal mortality, death. 18 is the minimum age. No exceptions, no parental consent, no judicial approval. Caregiving belongs to all parents. When leave is available only to mothers, the policy encodes an assumption. Caregiving is women's work. Gender-neutral parental leave. Same duration, same compensation for all parents, regardless of gender, regardless of how the child entered the family. The policy that makes caregiving available to all makes it expected of all. Children are people. Their experiences are real. Their expressed needs are valid. The institutions responsible for their care are obligated to take what they say seriously. This sounds obvious. It is not how these institutions currently operate. The process is not complete without them. In any legal or administrative proceeding affecting a child, the child's perspective is sought. It is documented, it is supported, family court, school discipline, child welfare placements, institutional settings. Not always determinative, never skipped. Their grief is not a behavioral problem. The child moved between foster placements, who loses siblings, teachers, neighborhoods, who accumulates a file of interventions instead of a history of relationships. Their interior life is not a secondary concern, it is the work. Continuity is not a luxury. Individualized records of each child's relationships, expressed preferences, cultural connections, developmental history. At least one consistent adult relationship not contingent on their compliance. Independent oversight that includes direct interviews with children about their experience. They don't disappear. The child who ages out of foster care without stable relationships, educational continuity, or economic foundation appears in the homeless shelter, the jail, the emergency room. The investment in their interior life while they are in the system is the investment that prevents those later costs. More importantly, it is the right thing to do. This is not finished when the provisions are enacted. The building of infrastructure, the training of the workforce, the cultural change that makes these provisions normal rather than contested, that takes longer. The building continues. The door is open. Here is enough to begin: equal pay, caregiving compensation, parental leave, reproductive autonomy, domestic violence response, no child marriage, children's right to be heard. None of this requires new institutions. It requires existing ones to do what they claim. This is from writings that are on coralrussell.substack.com.